Voor ons begin wil ek jou vinnig herinner aan al die potgooi-reekse wat ek by betrokke is. Daar's natuurlik klipkouers wat fokus op Afrikaanse entrepreneurs en impakmakers, boerpot wat fokus op die besigheid van landbou, Nostalgooi, my nuutste reeks waar ek gesels met legendes van die Afrikaanse vermaaklikheidsindustrie, mense soos David Kramer, Anton Goosen, Sandra Prinsloo ensovoorts. En dan my 2 nuwe potgooi-reekse, Buscrash wat die Engelse boetie is van klipkouers, en dan Pot of Gold wat gefokus is op die besigheid van mynbou. As jy in Pretoria is, kom maak gerus 'n draai hierop by ons plek in die R21 Corporate Park, genaamd Bouma at 21, waar ons 'n café het, ons het coworking space, ons hierdie raadsaal uit en my atelier is hier. So, as jy is, kom drink gerus 'n koffie en kom sê hallo.
Hierdie is 'n potgooi produksie deur nommer 7 Media.
Hierdie is potgooi episode 5 van 8 episodes van Agri SA se 2019 Kongres. Die tema is tegnologie op die plaas en Gary McKay is aan die woord. Hy is die kommersiële bedryfshoof vir Fidelity ADT Commercial en hy fokus veral op veiligheidstegnologie vir toekomsboerdery. Lekker luister.
Good afternoon, everybody. I've noticed a lot of faces here that I've been into your areas already. So the presentation is really just a summary of what we've been out in the specific regions and on what they've been about. So around about last year, November, we started with chats with Agri SA on certain movements in the security for the farming industry. The point that they came to is they said that currently in the farming industry, there's a lot of security going on, and a lot of farming areas and associations have got their own security, which they're working with locally. But the problem with it is that all these specific farming areas and associations are living in their own silos. That information that they've got, they're keeping to themselves. They're not giving this information out to anybody. So the one area isn't disclosing this information to the other area, which means that we don't know what's happening in this area, we don't know what's happening in that area, and if we had this information, we could then maybe utilize this information to stop issues or prevent crime that could happen in those areas. And this is where they came to Fidelity and they said, well, which is the biggest social or security firm that there is in the country? What can they offer us, and are they able to offer us anything? And so the negotiations started, and around about April this year, we signed a memorandum of understanding which entails that anybody within Agri South Africa falls under the scope, but it also indicates and it closes any other farmer or its association that is in the agricultural industry will also bind with this specific agreement. And later on, as I go through it, I'll explain to you a little bit further that there are certain farmers that are outside the Agri SA that have already joined us and are already paying, and they're the odd ones that is. So it doesn't mean that just because you're with Agri SA, if your association's outside, you could also work within this specific memorandum. So we started and we went out to all these specific different regions, and we started doing our presentations, telling them what we could do and how we could help them. To date, there's probably about 13 million rand. It's probably a little bit more. It's in the region of about 17 million worth of quotes are out in the industry. Fortunately, to date, in terms of the safety systems on the areas itself, there's only 2 or 3 that have been accepted. In terms of farmers themselves, there's quite a couple. In the Western Cape alone, there is big estates that have taken. The last one that we just signed is Wildepaardejacht. So there's a couple of big estates that our systems are on and are working on and fall within the farmers' industries. Okay, and one of the main reasons why they also contacted us, or Agri said, was, you're the biggest. Can't you give us a better price? If you can give us a better price, let's see how those prices came. Now, we've had a couple of challenges where, for example, the local branches have come to us and said, guys, check, you oaks are 10 Rand and these oaks are 8 Rand. But if you compare what we're giving and what they're giving, it's not measured against the same statistics. A. B is second, what do you do with it? And what is the actual value you're getting out of it? Remember that value adds much more than the actual price. So what is the value that you're getting out of it? Right, so I put down there and on the slide there, and if anybody needs it, that's the price list there. a typical camera system over there with all its details. As I put it down there, was straight for Agri SA. It's been disclosed to you what you're getting, what our price is, and that list has been given through to Kobus. Okay, so what has also been done for you is all the legal templates, all the applications in terms of SANRAL roads. All that is already in a template. So what happens is if you want to apply for a pole that has to go up somewhere, contact us, we'll give you the template you fill in, you give me the road thing, and off it goes to SANRAL. That's how it works. Remember that when we put a camera system up somewhere on a national road or a system somewhere, and we've had a couple where, for example, the local guys have put up a pole with a couple of tires around it and thrown cement into it. As soon as that pole falls on a vehicle or hurts somebody, there's liabilities. And who then takes that? And this actually happened in one case, where they then came back and they said, okay, now who's taking liability for the injuries over here? The guy that put the pole up or the association or the local farmer? Okay, so those are like issues that you have to think of once you take these things. Who carries those liabilities? In the previous slide, I showed you where our liabilities lie. Okay, just one thing. Those are just a couple of pictures of our poles. What we've done and experienced, and they're all over here. You can see them. We've put a couple up. Is the latest version that we've done now is on the right. You'll see it there with red. I've marked it. So the pole now has what we call an electric fence on it. So that fence means that they can't climb up to get up to that specific thing with an alarm system on, and it runs at about quite a couple of volts, which is within the legal limit. So it seems to be deterring these people at this stage. Where they used to have razor wire, it didn't work anymore. Okay, so now the electric fence is on the new one. Right, this is part of the plan. I'm just going to go through it quickly. Between the Agri SA and us, we put out a specific security plan. I'm not going to go through it in detail because we don't have time. But if you do need it, you can get this specific presentation from whoever I have to send it to you. Aubrey, I don't know who. Kobus. So Kobus will have the presentation and we'll take it from there. We'll go to the specific thing. I'll explain more about these details as we move on in the slides. Right, this is just our footprint. This is mainly to say how we were, and this is why we got to us. You'll notice that we currently approximately 60,000 employees, of which 55,000 is operational and 5,000 is admin staff or support staff. So 40 of those, 42,000 are guards. The rest are armed response officers, reaction officers, etc. Excuse me. What they also asked me to do is just to show our specialized services up in a couple of places. In fact, in the Free State, one rugby player, it's got a farming community right near me in Bloemfontein. I live in Bloemfontein. Has now requested that when they specifically dip their cattle, they have a problem. And they asked us for vehicles to cover that specific area in that thing with a panic button that actually gives them a GPS right by the dipping kraal, right by them when they're in the veld. So that specific button can press, it'll give you a GPS, the vehicle that they've paid for in that 250 kilometers. There's two buckies there and they look like those ones on the side there down the bottom. Like that, riding in the area. They pay for them during that time and all the farmers dip so that there's no cattle stolen during that specific time. So those vehicles look after it. That button, doesn't matter where you're in the veld, will go straight to the bucky. The bucky will then go to that specific area according to a GPS. Okay. That just shows you that we have two-way radio situation with everybody, obviously soft-skin, armored, marked, unmarked vehicles. Most of the time, if you see strikes and stuff like that, although you see the SAPS in the front, the second police force is just behind them, and that's generally us, which is on private property. Okay, so we have air support. We currently have about 5 helicopters in the air, excluding. There's 2 in Gauteng, 1 in KZN, 1 in Eastern Cape, and then 1 in the Free State Northern Cape, and that way we sort of covers those areas, mainly for CIT. And Val also told me that if this chopper's up in the air and you need it at that stage, then it'll be at a no cost. Otherwise, there's obviously a cost. So if we're following CIT or looking after one of our clients which are paying, mainly which is the banks, then we'll be able to assist. Okay, so how did we come to our idea and have a look at this thing? So what we've done in the meantime is we've put in a schedule and we've created a risk neutralization model. Now in CIT, and I don't know if you've noticed that over the last 6-7 months, lately there's been a couple, but there was quite a couple of CIT robberies. We had approximately 5 or 6, no, it wasn't that bad. It was about 4 to 5 every month. There were CIT robberies. So we created a project about 1.5 years ago with different people in the industry to bring down this thing. And this was what the idea came along with when we started with Agri SA, was to share the specific information. By sharing this information and putting them into a certain area and using this information and then spreading this information, and making sure that that we understand where the robbery is coming from, we were able to prevent it. You'll notice that the CIT robberies have come down quite a bit now. So they're probably running, and obviously now peak season is picking up, but before that we were running at maybe 1 every 3 months, and unfortunately we've had 1 or 2 in the last month or 2 where they've picked up. That's generally not us, they're the other 2 companies that do the job. So in this specific slide we demonstrate 2 things. First of all, that there's a project that we've already set up, and we're piggybacking on that for the agricultural industry, which is for the CIT. It's called the Eyes and Ears Project. That is specific people that we have in various areas, in townships, in areas, in metropolitans, in the rural areas, that collect information and come and put it into a JOC. So this joint operation committee sits inside Midrand, is the one for CIT. The other one, which we've created for Agri SA, sits in Helderkruin. In that specific thing, there's 12 people, that joint operation committee inside the information committee. In that thing itself, those people are dedicated to just mining all sorts of information, and you'll see where that information comes from. Currently, for example, we've got 55,200 and something this morning I checked, vehicles that are just suspicious. Each one of those vehicles are marked, checked, and on a daily basis currently checked where they're moving. Are they moving near to banks? Are they parking near ABSA? Are they parking near this one? Why are they in this area? And so on. So we can identify these hotspots, and this all that these people do. There's 2 people currently sitting just on social media, identifying what on social media is there. So if there's a farm murder in Bronkhorstspruit, then that farm murder which is posted on the thing gets checked. Is it a hoax? Is it not a hoax? We check it, we check the police number and so on, and then we spread the information. So all that information is mined daily in our operational committee. So then we said, okay, let's use this information. So what we'll do is we'll point out specific JOCs in areas, and there we've identified them. Currently at the moment we're going to have one in Bloemfontein, which will cover part of the Northern Cape, part of the top part of the Eastern Cape. In other words, there by Steinsrus, Hofmeyer, Allewal, that side. It'll cover that area. So there's 2 operators there with a supervisor. Then we'll move over to PE because of the Eastern Cape, which we are anticipating working with soon. And moving in there, we've already stipulated the control room. That is already sorted out. We've got Uppington and Springbok. And then the one that we haven't really sorted out is whether we'll do in Kimberley or not. And then in Cape Town. Obviously, Cape Town wasn't part of the rollout originally, but because of the immense amount of interest that's come from there and actual purchases, that we've now moved 2 people into the Cape Town that's actually sitting in Stellenbosch at this stage. We just bought out a company and used their control room. Okay, so that's basically what that is specifically. So the information comes from the JOC, goes to those specific things out and out to the farmers' unions. And then you'll see there's a big grey one which says Agri. We send out that information. So if it's applicable to your area, you will get that information, you'll get that warning and so on. But guys, I need the information from you. I can't do it. I can't mine that information if I'm not getting it from those associations. So yes, you're working with the small businesses, with your local guys, and great. I don't want to take over their business. I just want the information. So if I can get the information, I can give it back to you and utilize that information to do crime prevention. In a specific town in South Africa, a vehicle was driving around and stole almost 300 to 1,000 sheep in less than a month. And nobody realized that that vehicle actually was doing what it was doing. Until a farmer asked and he said, whose new vehicle is this with these sheep on every day? And he said, I want to know, ek wil weet wie is die boer wat so baie skape hou die hele dag hier rondry met my. And then they found out that the truck was stolen and the sheep was stolen. But nobody asked questions. Nobody gave that information through. And that's the problem. Just think if we had that information. Okay, so those are the different types of things that we've got. So we'll carry on. So these are the guys that currently we sit and we mine the information through. We've got the old Hawks guy, which is General Johan Boysen. He works permanent for us. He's employed as the head of investigations and crime intelligence. He sits with us. He's a permanent employee by us. In other words, we use all his extensive contacts and so on. We've got the Hawks themselves, the SAPS. We sit on their boards and all the things. We sit on Interpol. We sit on the Metro Police, NPA, SABRIC, which is all the bank's information. All this information gets sent to us on a daily basis, sent through to us, and we use it. The one that's not there is Agri. Because nobody's sending me that information. Imagine if I had that information. We probably got the biggest database than what anybody else has ever got. But nobody utilizes it. Because we all sit in our little silos. Instead of saying, guys, let's rather share the information, we don't. We keep it to ourselves and then nothing happens with that information. Okay, so this is part of it. Here you can see this is just an illustration of exactly where they are. Inside the SAPS, in all of their jocks, where they sit, where their information comes in, where case numbers are open, where everything is open. I have 2 people. In Gauteng I have 2. In the Eastern Cape I have 2. In Mpumalanga I have 2. Northwest I have 2. Limpopo I have 2. People sitting there, mining their work directly from the information that's coming to the SAPS and sending it to me. Okay, so there you can see my Joint Intelligence Commission. There I have 3 managers and 3 analysts. That was only the analyst that does the media. The rest is just crime intelligence, pulling in information, checking vehicles, etc. Okay, so that's 12 in total. As you can see in Snake Valley, etc., and that's the type of equipment that we have in all the jocks. Right, so this is basically how it works. So the information goes from the information to the POC, which is the jocks. It goes to the police. We send the police out. We notify it, gets the farmer, and then to the Agri SA. So that information will show, and we can start the prevention of stuff. If we just have that information, it's not the guy with the biggest gun. Certainly not him that stops the prevention. I know we like to shoot, but before we shoot, we must think. Okay, because we're always in trouble if we do shoot. So before you shoot, think. Make sure that you know why you're shooting and that you've got the ability to do and to stop that prevention. And when there's a crime, make sure that you understand what crime it is and how you understand it. And that's where we are. So we even have what we're busy sorting out in terms of a reservist. I call it a reservist, but you don't have a private reservist. But if you want to call it that, in the lack of the old police reservist, the old infantry reservist, there's people that you can train in whole lot of training courses which will be able to give you. And if you're registered in terms of CIRA, etc., you automatically get more rights than what you do as a normal individual or single person. Okay, so those are the type of information you got. And then remember that now all of a sudden, you now understand how to look at a crime situation. How do you look and prevent that specific thing? Okay, so Agri said to us, cool. So you got all this stuff. What type of technology do you have? So we had a look at the technology and we said, well, the biggest problem that we've got is there's only 3 ways in which you can get technology sent all over the place. The first way is through the GSM network. In other words, your cell phone. And 90%, especially with my friends in the Northern Cape, up there and the north right against the Botswana border, they say, "Daar's nie sy nie." So if you don't have signal, then you've got a problem. So how do you get the signal back there? So you're sort of stuck. So the only other way that they used to be able to do it was by satellite. And hey, satellite's expensive. So now we've got to find an alternative. So they had a look at 3 different ones. We'll talk about satellite. Let's just put that on hold first. So the first one is obviously a fixed line network. In other words, we get a guy and he comes and puts up a pole for you. He puts up a tower. He then puts that signal through to the nearest fixed network or nearest Vodacom tower, MTN tower, CLC if they still exist, etc. and so on. Or alternatively, the last one, which is satellite. So what we've done is we've also now partnered with a satellite company who's now given to me, and I've sent it out to Agri, that they can now use satellite at the same cost as what GSM costs you. So in other words, if you don't have a normal GSM signal, you can buy now certain gigabytes at the same cost as what you would buy your normal 5 gig, 10 gig, etc. on the satellite. So in other words, now your signal doesn't go to there, it goes straight up and down. So all of a sudden you've got guys that can do that. They're in certain packages, you can decide what they are. And if you are, I'll give it to Kobus. Kobus, I think, has got it. You can have a look at it if you want to. Okay. Last thing is obviously this is just an introduction to our background in which we monitor. It's one of the only monitoring platforms, and that's why every single bank is monitored and responded to by us. Everyone, the only one that we don't do at this stage is Capitec, except pick up their money and give it back to them. Okay, so the rest of them we fill up their ATMs, etc. Is because our system can monitor both systems at the same time. Most people have a system which they call Listener or something like that, Mastermind, Watch Manager, etc., which they look at a system, they see the alarm goes off, but they have to go to another system to check the camera. Now, nowadays, the easiest way is to do it through visual verification, to say, I first want to see if the guy's legs are hanging in my ceiling, then I know that's a positive and I'm going to go. An alarm can be set off by a fly, a cat jumping, anything. But you don't know if there's somebody there. So what you really want to see is, hey, there's somebody hanging in my ceiling. He's climbed on my duck. Now I can react. So those things can only be monitored one platform. And if that platform is the same platform, then it's even easier. And that's what our platform does. Okay, so that's just a picture of the monitoring system. One thing that we do use, and we're the only people that have monitored into it, is called the 6-Fox radio. The 6-Fox, all people that monitor radios is on a 2G frequency because of the low data costs. So all radios are monitored on a 2G except us. We don't monitor on any, no GSM. It runs on the Sigfox radio, and it runs, as you can see, all the areas in blue is currently monitored by it. It costs us less than R1, where the others used to cost us 695 Rand. Okay, so all of a sudden, the system that we developed can now do it. The nice thing about this system is, when you put it in, it's got dry contacts. You can check your freezer temperatures. You can. So I've got it in my cold room. I farm in the northwest in Christiana. So there I have cold rooms for potatoes. And inside the potatoes, I've got a monitor that says to me, there's something wrong, your compressor's not working, the temperature's going down. It sends me a signal and says, there's a problem. Okay. So the same as your pivots, that technologies existed long ago, we've just made it better. Okay. So you can put your pump on, I can switch my geyser on, I can put my lights on, I can open my gate, all with the same radio. And all from my cell phone. Okay. So I can monitor my alarm system, I can arm it, I can disarm it, I can bypass it, I can give a code to open the gate, everything from my cell phone. This is what our technology allows. Okay. There's obviously a full range of cameras. Cameras vary from different types of cameras, and it depends on what type of camera we need in certain areas. And that's why we depend and we say, let's rather send a guy out to go and have a look at you. Everybody talks about the ANPR and the LPR. Now let me tell you something. ANPR and LPR was the fantastic thing, probably about a month, 2, 3, let's say 6 months ago. 6 months it was fantastic. Nobody ever picked up a number plate and you said, ask to steal the voertuig. No problem. Now they're also one step ahead of us. They now don't steal the vehicle anymore. Now they just clone a plate. They steal the vehicle and they clone your plate. At Coca-Cola about 2 months ago, we caught a vehicle. It was a blue Camry. We got it, went through the thing. It said unidentified plate. Got the plate, arrested the guy. The number plate belonged to a farmer with a Fortuner in Bothaville. Okay, so they just cloned the plate. So now all of a sudden the vehicle's not stolen anymore. So hey, LMPR and ANPR is great when you use it for certain things. But there's a cheaper option, and it's called cameras with AI, which is artificial intelligence. That intelligence can tell you whether there's a person on a bicycle, a car, etc. So that depends on the situation. We use the type of camera that is necessary. Okay. I want to take too long. There was a video. So play the video. Let me see if I can play the video. I just want to show you how this works, but maybe I'll just skip it. So in the video, it just shows that how well this specific intelligence works. So a person can move in an area. In fact, right around Pretoria, I was showing Kobus now. In this whole area, how far these specific things could work and how they would work, and why we use artificial intelligence. Because certain alarm systems you can't use in areas, they need places to terminate and so on. Okay, so this is just that we have certain types of alarm systems which we have. I'm not going to go through them in detail. There are a couple of them. There's just one I want to speak about. The one that we've put out for Agri SA specifically, most people come in at a price around about 8,000 for a minimum alarm system inside your house. And remember, we always talk about the onion concept. We talk about saving the person from outside, so from the road as we go in until we get into the farm itself. So 90%, or maybe it's a little bit better now, it's probably about 70% of all farmers have actually got alarm systems in their houses. Okay. So this specific system was then given to you. It's a wireless system. You can take it, you can put it on your arm and go home. It's got 2 passives, it's got anything, and it costs you 3,000 Rand. It's cheap. Okay. Specifically developed for it. And the nice thing about it, you can work it from your phone. Okay. You can also put your geyser, open your gate, etc. Up to 39 specific functions on your cell phone via this little system, which costs you, VAT inclusive, 3,000 Rand. Okay. Right, so then they also had an issue, and I just want to go through 2 things quickly. This is the first one. It's called, we have 3 different things. It's called, we have fence cop, scarp cop, which is the cattle one, and cell cop. Now, cell cop's what I want to talk to you about, and the black box. I'm just going to go past them quickly. Almost done. The nice thing about cell cop and this black box is the 2 different things. They are in a specific area of 5 kilometers. You put on a box. It then measures any movement of a cell phone in that specific area. The cheap one, which is a quarter of the price, which is cell cop, can only identify a speck moving in it. A farmer with the name of John Hume with all the rhinos uses it in these specific areas because there's nobody supposed to be anybody in those rhino camps. As soon as somebody moves inside there with a cell phone, and we know that all intruders have a cell phone, it picks up the cell phone, which is on, and it tells me there's somebody there. The second one, which is most expensive, is also in a 5 kilometer radius. It can pick up cell phones and you can cordon off areas. So you can cordon off just your house or you can ring fence just your one camp, or you can ring fence half your camp, or only this side of the road, or only that side of the road. Picks up a cell phone number, and you can block numbers in it. So in other words, if your foreman has a number, you block that number, any other number, it picks it up. That number then comes to you and it comes to us. We can then pick up and we've got a piece of thing to see who that network belongs to, and we can tell you who that person is and why he's there. Okay, so that system costs a lot of money. Okay, so that runs in around about the region of about 100,000. Okay, the other one is about 21. Right, so that just shows you how you can ring fence, shows you hotspot areas and so on. That just shows you how we spider web it to different types of people. So in other words, a cell phone goes to somebody, from there we do the next person, from there. So the whole world we can check where that cell phone is phoned and who's connected on that cell phone number. All through our intelligence. Okay. Right, this is just a type of cases. I haven't got much down there. The range of products, these are the ones I said to you. If you, as soon as you join up with us, you get a free app, which is a Find You app. You fall in a mall, the phone falls down, it rattles and so on, we respond. Okay, and it costs you less than 10 Rand. Okay, the Cell Panic is the same thing. That's the one I was talking about in the farmers' areas. And that's about it.
As jy gehou het van die potgooi, deel dit asseblief met vriende en familie. Of besoek ons webwerf by www.agrisa.co.za.